Let me ask you something. Have you ever agreed to something even though you felt tired, overwhelmed, or simply not interested? Maybe someone asked for your help, your time, or your attention, and even though a quiet voice inside you wanted to refuse, the word yes came out automatically. Many people experience this moment more often than they realize. They say yes to avoid conflict, to avoid disappointing someone, or simply to appear kind and cooperative. But what if constantly saying yes slowly creates emotional exhaustion? What if the difficulty of saying no is not a sign of kindness, but a habit that prevents you from protecting your own well-being? In this episode, you will explore why healthy boundaries are essential for emotional balance, why guilt often appears when you begin protecting your time and energy, and how learning to say no can actually create stronger, more respectful relationships in your life. And if this lesson gave you something useful, I'd love it if you tapped like and subscribe to the channel. It helps you stay connected, and it also helps this little learning community grow. Every click really does make a difference. With love, let's dive in. What are healthy boundaries actually protecting? Healthy boundaries are often misunderstood. Some people imagine boundaries as walls that push others away, but boundaries are not meant to isolate you from people. Instead, they function like gentle guidelines that protect your emotional space and personal limits. Boundaries help define what feels comfortable, respectful, and manageable for you. Without these guidelines, people may unintentionally expect more from you than you can realistically give. Over time, this can create a quiet feeling of pressure or fatigue. Boundaries allow you to recognize when your energy is becoming depleted and when it is necessary to pause. When you understand boundaries in this way, they begin to feel less like rejection and more like self-respect. They help maintain balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. In healthy relationships, boundaries actually improve communication because they make expectations clearer and more honest for everyone involved. Why do kind people often struggle with boundaries? Many people who are naturally kind and supportive find it especially difficult to set boundaries. Their instinct is to help, to listen, and to be available whenever someone needs support. While this generosity is beautiful, it can also create a challenge. When helping others becomes a constant habit, people may forget to notice their own limits. They begin placing the needs of others ahead of their own well-being again and again. Eventually, this pattern can lead to emotional exhaustion. The person may feel drained, yet still continue saying yes because refusing feels uncomfortable. This is why kindness without boundaries can slowly become unsustainable. Boundaries allow kindness to remain healthy. They ensure that your support for others comes from genuine care rather than obligation or pressure. When your energy is protected, your generosity becomes more balanced and meaningful instead of overwhelming. Why does guilt appear when you set boundaries? Guilt often appears when you begin setting boundaries because your mind is adjusting to a new behavior. If you have spent many years prioritizing other people's needs, protecting your own limits can feel unfamiliar at first. Your brain may interpret this change as selfishness, even when it is actually a healthy act of self-respect. These feelings of guilt are not a signal that you are doing something wrong. They are simply a reflection of old habits being challenged. As you continue practicing boundaries, the guilt usually becomes weaker. Over time, your mind learns that respecting your limits does not harm relationships. Instead, it creates a more balanced dynamic between you and the people around you. Understanding this process helps you remain patient with yourself while building this new skill. What happens when you never say no? When someone rarely says no, their schedule and energy often become controlled by external demands. Requests from colleagues, friends, or family members can quickly fill every available moment. At first, this may seem like a sign of responsibility or generosity. However, constantly responding to everyone else's needs can quietly reduce the time available for rest, reflection, and personal priorities. Over time, this imbalance may create stress, fatigue, or even resentment. These emotions often appear when a person feels they are giving more than they can comfortably sustain. Saying no occasionally is not a rejection of others. It is a way of maintaining emotional balance so that your support for others remains genuine and sustainable. Boundaries protect the space you need to remain healthy, focused, and emotionally present in your life. How do boundaries protect your time and energy? Every person has a limited amount of emotional and mental energy each day. Just like physical energy, this inner energy can become exhausted when it is constantly used without rest or balance. When you agree to every request, every favor, and every responsibility, your time and attention slowly become controlled by outside expectations. At first, you may not notice the effect, but over time you might begin to feel tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. Boundaries protect your time and energy by helping you decide where your attention should go. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to pause and ask yourself whether something truly fits within your capacity. This moment of reflection gives you the power to choose rather than simply respond. Protecting your energy does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means recognizing that your time and emotional resources are valuable and that using them wisely helps you remain calm, focused, and present in your daily life. Can boundaries actually strengthen relationships? Many people worry that setting boundaries will damage their relationships. They imagine that saying no might create distance or conflict with the people around them. However, the opposite is often true. Healthy boundaries can actually strengthen relationships because they encourage honesty and clarity. When people understand each other's limits, misunderstandings become less common. Instead of silently carrying frustration, both individuals know what is comfortable and realistic for the other person. This creates a more balanced dynamic where expectations are clearer and communication becomes more respectful. Boundaries also prevent resentment from building quietly over time. When someone constantly ignores their own limits, hidden frustration can slowly grow beneath the surface. By expressing boundaries early and respectfully, you create an environment where both people feel understood and respected. In this way, boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are tools that support healthier and more sustainable relationships. Why do people fear disappointing others? The fear of disappointing others is deeply connected to the human desire for acceptance. Most people naturally want to maintain harmony and avoid conflict within their relationships. Because of this instinct, refusing a request can sometimes feel uncomfortable or even frightening. The mind may immediately imagine negative reactions such as anger, disappointment, or rejection. However, these imagined outcomes are often much stronger than the reality. In healthy relationships, people usually understand that everyone has limits. Learning to tolerate the possibility of mild disappointment is an important step in developing emotional independence. Disappointment does not automatically destroy a relationship. In fact, Honest communication about limits often leads to greater respect. When you stop trying to please everyone all the time, you begin building relationships based on authenticity rather than constant approval. This shift creates connections that are more genuine and emotionally balanced. How can you begin setting boundaries gradually? Setting boundaries does not require dramatic changes overnight. In many cases, the most effective approach is to begin with small and manageable steps. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to situations where you feel pressured, uncomfortable, or emotionally drained. These feelings often signal that your limits are being tested. Instead of immediately agreeing, you can practice pausing before responding. A simple phrase like, "Let me think about it," gives you time to evaluate whether the request fits within your energy and priorities. This pause allows you to make a conscious decision rather than reacting automatically. Over time, these small moments of reflection build confidence. As you become more comfortable expressing your needs, your boundaries naturally grow stronger and clearer. What once felt difficult slowly becomes a normal and healthy part of communication. Why is clear communication important for boundaries? Boundaries become most effective when they are communicated clearly and respectfully. If your limits remain unspoken, other people may not realize that their expectations are creating pressure. Clear communication helps avoid confusion and misunderstanding. When you express a boundary, the goal is not to criticize or blame someone else. Instead, the goal is to explain your needs in a calm and honest way. The tone of your message is just as important as the words themselves. Speaking with respect helps maintain the relationship while still protecting your limits. Over time, clear communication builds trust because people understand where your boundaries exist. They learn what you can comfortably offer and where your limits begin. This transparency creates relationships that feel more stable, predictable, and emotionally respectful for everyone involved. What if someone reacts negatively to your boundaries? One of the biggest fears people have when setting boundaries is the possibility that someone might react negatively. You might imagine a friend becoming upset, a colleague feeling offended, or a family member misunderstanding your intentions. These possibilities can make it tempting to return to the familiar habit of saying yes. However, it is important to remember that another person's reaction does not automatically mean your boundary is wrong. When you change a long-standing pattern, people sometimes need time to adjust. They may have grown accustomed to your constant availability, and your new limits may feel unfamiliar at first. This adjustment period can feel uncomfortable, but it is also a natural part of creating healthier relationships. If your communication remains calm, respectful, and consistent, most people eventually learn to respect your boundaries. Over time, the relationships that remain will often feel more balanced and supportive. How do boundaries strengthen your self-respect? Self-respect grows from the way you treat your own needs and values. When you repeatedly ignore your limits in order to satisfy others, your sense of personal importance can slowly weaken. You may begin to feel that your time and energy are less valuable than everyone else's expectations. Boundaries send a very different message to your mind. Each time you respectfully protect your limits, you reinforce the idea that your well-being matters. This does not mean that other people are unimportant. It simply means that your needs deserve the same level of care and consideration. Over time, this practice strengthens your internal sense of stability. You begin to trust yourself more because you know you are capable of protecting your emotional balance. This quiet confidence becomes an important foundation for healthy decision-making in every area of life. How do boundaries create emotional freedom? When boundaries become a natural part of your life, you may notice a surprising shift in your emotional state. Situations that once felt overwhelming begin to feel more manageable. Instead of feeling responsible for every request and expectation, you regain a sense of control over your choices. This sense of control creates emotional freedom. You are no longer reacting automatically to every situation that appears in front of you. Instead, you are choosing where to place your time, energy, and attention. This freedom allows you to focus more deeply on the things that truly matter to you. It also reduces the pressure that comes from constantly trying to satisfy everyone around you. Emotional freedom does not remove responsibility from life, but it creates a healthier balance between responsibility and personal well-being. Why do boundaries support personal growth? Personal growth requires time, energy, and mental clarity. Without boundaries, these resources can quickly disappear under constant obligations and expectations. When every moment is filled with external demands, it becomes difficult to focus on learning, creativity, or self-reflection. Boundaries protect the space necessary for growth to occur. By choosing where your energy goes, you create opportunities to develop new skills, explore new ideas, and reflect on your experiences. This space allows your mind to recover from stress and regain clarity. Over time, the presence of boundaries helps you live more intentionally rather than reactively. Instead of feeling controlled by circumstances, you begin directing your own development with greater awareness and purpose. What changes when you finally stop feeling guilty? As you continue practicing healthy boundaries, the guilt that once appeared after saying no gradually becomes quieter. At first, the feeling may return occasionally, reminding you of old habits that are still fading. But with time and consistency, you begin to realize something important. Respecting your limits does not harm others. It simply creates honesty within your relationships. Saying no becomes a clear and calm expression of your needs rather than a source of anxiety. This shift brings a sense of emotional stability that many people have never experienced before. You begin to understand that kindness includes caring for yourself, as well as caring for others. When self-respect and compassion work together, life becomes more balanced, relationships become healthier, and your inner world begins to feel calmer and more secure. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. Your support means so much. It keeps this space alive and growing. With love. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.